PJNET Live. It is 9 o'clock on the eastern coast of the United States. It is Wednesday night. Specifically, it is the second Wednesday of the month, and that is when we bring on Lori Hayes. She is standing by. We do have a bumper rolling. We have a person in the background installed. We are recording. We are streaming on all available platforms. So let's switch to Studio 6 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's showtime. Welcome to PJNET Live. It is great to be here. I say that, but I have to be here. But even though I have to be here, I can honestly tell you, it is great to be here. I am glad to see the chat room coming alive to each of you there at patriotjournalist.com. I welcome you, especially those of you watching live. We welcome you as well. And if you're watching this and it's recorded, well, that's the next best thing. We're glad you're here. It is the second Wednesday of the month, and Lori Hayes is our featured scheduled guest each second Wednesday. Now, behind me is a picture, what looks like a slime path through the forest. But I'm pretty sure it's not. But Lori, you wanted to use that picture to illustrate something that's on your mind right now about choosing pathways, and share with us the significance of that photo, which let me guess, you took it.
Of course.
You did, didn't you? Yeah. By the way, Lori, let me magnify you because you seem to have shrunk. You've lost some weight. I just wanted to throw that in there.
8 pounds, thank you.
Congratulations, Lori. We're proud of you. Really.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I took that photo. I looked for that specifically for this this interview tonight. And what's been on my mind, have you ever been faced with a crossroads and not known which way to turn? And that's been the story for about the last 16 months of my life. And so I've learned tremendous amount from that, and I wanted to share some of what I've learned.
Well, please do. I am curious, though, that green pathway, is that fern? What is that green stuff in that picture?
It's moss, not slime.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Not the moss like we have here in the South that hangs from the trees. This is the moss that grows in very moist environments.
Yes, a lot of shade in the woods.
Yeah, and you've probably heard of peat moss.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes
I don't know if that's what that is or not.
Well, it would when processed, they sell it as peat moss. The dirt that you buy, that real rich black dirt, it's peat moss. Anyway,
I'm not about to go out there and dig that up, though, and sell it.
Okay,
No.
So you're about to tell us about pathways, and I'm glad you're sharing this. This is kind of deep, because when it comes to everyday decisions, you're not going to find a book, chapter, and verse that says, you're about to make a decision concerning a car purchase. You should get a Ford instead of a Chevrolet. That's not in there. So how do we manage crossroads, decisions that are part of our life?
Especially when you pray about them and you don't get an answer immediately. It's very stressful. But about 16 months ago, well, actually a couple years ago, I work in the healthcare industry, and it was mentioned that they were going to make some drastic Medicare changes. And the last time they did that, in 1998, 2000, a lot of therapists, I work in the geriatric rehab, and a lot of therapists lost their jobs. It was a very stressful time. We went from 40 hours to 10 hours pretty much overnight a week. So it was a little hard to make a living back then. So when I first got wind of this, I started saving. And I saved for at least a couple of years because I knew this was coming, and it was supposed to take effect in October, and then they delayed it by a year, so I actually had 2 years to save. Then I had an opportunity to follow my passion and to write full time, because all along I was praying and asking to write full time. And I guess it's something that you have to be careful what you ask for, but in general. But I was praying for that, and I had a great opportunity to actually follow my passion. So for 14 months, I wrote full time. And when I made the decision to write full time, and I was getting ready to go to Hawaii, and I know we talked about that on a previous on a previous interview, but when I quit the job, I left to go to Hawaii, and I guess 4 days after. So you could say that the timing could have been bad, but you could also say the timing was awesome because I got to go to Hawaii pretty much stress free. So that was really nice. And by the way, my cat is visiting us. This is my
Well,
cat. Not
w-
not to change the subject, but
we've had your
that's
dog
a
on the program, but he was a little
no.
bit more timid. Uh,
And yeah, and it's her turn, I guess. But this topic has nothing to do with her, so we're gonna put her back down. But
she'll be
so I
back.
went to Hawaii. I went to Hawaii, and I made some really important good connections. Networking is always a wonderful thing. And then in that 14 months, I completed a book. I wrote an entire new book. And then I did a bunch of research because I had a fabulous idea for a narrative nonfiction. So I completed all the research, proposal, and I'm almost finished writing my third chapter. So um, I also went to 4 conferences. So I really wasn't on a 14-month hiatus as in vacation, but I was actually working really hard. And so at one of the conferences, I learned that I needed to build a strong platform, especially for nonfiction. So I began to do that. And I think back to the 14 months I had, and I'm surprised by how much I actually accomplished. But at some point, the money that you save starts to dwindle down, and everybody has their comfort zone, and this was becoming out of my comfort zone. And I prayed about it. I job interviewed, deciding yes, I need to go back to work full time. I um, I tried freelance editing. I tried everything, and all the doors were closed. And talk about stress. I really feel like the lesson I was supposed to learn was how to let God control my life and know that He has me. And just because I'm stressed doesn't mean that He doesn't have a plan and He doesn't know where I'm going, because I knew He did, but it was probably the most stressful time of my life, not knowing what direction I'm supposed to go. Am I supposed to keep writing full time? Am I about to get this big book deal? Am I supposed to go back and work full time, but then that's going to cut into my writing? I prayed and prayed. I got no answers. Everything was a no. And um, it was becoming extremely stressful. But eventually, I realized the answer was I needed to wait, that He had me, I needed to wait. And then one day, it was right after our interview of when I was telling you about getting my dog in Hawaii, I sent out a resume, and I immediately, boom, got connected, uh, started working there as what we call PRN, which is as needed. So I got to try out the job before I had to decide if I wanted it or not. They got to try out me to
Mm-hmm.
see if they wanted me. I did that for about a month, and then they offered the job to me. And apparently there was a lot of competition, and I got the job. And all my answers were boom. And what I realized at some point was I wasn't actually supposed to write full time. I was given blessed time to actually be able to complete all these projects and to put myself in the best position that I possibly could, because I believe, I can feel it. I believe that I'm so close to success with my writing, and I believe that that was very valuable time. So now when I go to work, I'm not feeling like I have books looming over my head, because I'm ahead of the game, and I'm ahead of the game with the social media and the platform building. So I feel like I'm in a good position for that. And what could be an annoyance for some people is that I have an hour and a half in the middle of my day where our residents eat lunch. And a lot of people wonder, well, what in the world do you do for an hour and a half? Well, I take my laptop up to the library. It has a beautiful view of a pond, geese, um, an egret in a water fountain. It's beautiful.
And soon an
And I sit up
alligator if they
there
stay
and
there long
write.
enough.
Not where I live. It would be rare.
Oh, this is
But
Florida, yeah.
but I am also blessed because now I have built-in writing time, and instead of being at work like I used to have to be at 7:15, I don't have to be at work till 9, so I have time to write in the morning as well. So it's really a perfect scenario. and and it's, as you start to do this profession, it's very heavy lifting, it's intense. And I went from skilled nursing to independent living, like outpatient, and it's light work. And these are things that you have to think about after being a therapist for 23 years. So it's really the best case scenario in all directions. It was really neat. But I just remember facing that path, like my picture, and not knowing which way to turn and having to wait for God to answer that. And I said, it was the scariest thing in my life. But coming out of that, I realize now that his intention never really was for me to write full time as of now. And it was to just do my work and trust and
And
have faith.
trust and have faith. Can I share something?
Yeah.
When I sought a part-time job and got it. It was only 5 miles from my home, and I love the work. Working at AutoZone, delivering parts and working with the national brands. Pretty sophisticated. Everything was fine, and I was able to use that money. When I look around me at all the things that have been purchased to make this possible, which has been a dream come true for me. I know that without that job, I couldn't have done it. Well, things
Yes.
are, if you haven't heard me say, things are kind of getting going here at PJNet Live. And subsequently, I have moved. I'm not 5 miles away. Now I'm 30 miles away from where I work. And I
Wow.
have literally said, my job is the biggest hindrance to my ministry. So last year, I began this plan that what I would do is talk to some people about partnering with us to support this ministry financially, with the goal that I thought, well, if I could get to this many, I could quit the part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably know some of this because you're one of the ones I talk to, and well, I didn't really meet my goal, but here's my point. The point isn't the particulars of the story. The point is this. I was trying to respond. I knew that to make this work, to make this really come alive, I would need to totally immerse myself in it. And I can't right now.
Yes.
But here's, I said I had a point. I'm gonna pull the trigger right now. I was trying to do it without any faith. I
Yes.
was using income and money as the only validation, okay, that this was it. And we've got some people who are sacrificially sponsoring, partnering, and helping advance this ministry, but it certainly is not enough to replace. So I went to my employer and said, I was going to quit, but I didn't do that. I said in December I need
Mm-hmm.
3 days a week off, and in January I need 4, and just last week I said in April I need 5, and I said by June I'll probably need
Yay.
7. But my point, do you see, that's a long story, but I wanted to develop it
Yeah.
because I think we all face similar, especially writers. I haven't met a writer yet that just hit the jackpot and is independently wealthy. Most of them are bivocational, and they do this as a passion and as a calling.
And they
And
work very hard at it.
right, so the point I want to make to whoever is watching this is, if you're trying to do it without faith, I think you're missing the point. I wanted to replace that income, to where no faith would be required. Right. It's a no-brainer. I used some of your time. We got about 4 minutes left, so anyway.
That's okay. So
thus saith
you
Coach.
are at a crossroads as well.
Well,
but it does take faith, because when you have faith, all of a sudden the pieces start to fall into place. Now, it may not do that right away, because that's what faith is. You can't just say, I have faith, and then it just works immediately, because it's in God's timing. It's not our timing. But when God is in it, all the pieces will fall miraculously into place, and it's so easy and it's so wonderful. It's beyond anything that you can imagine ever asking for.
Well, it's easier for
blessing.
Me, Lori, to have faith in God's plan than to have faith in God. See, if God would just say, okay, it's going to take longer than you think. Here's how it's going to work out. Everything's going to be okay in the end. Mm-hmm. Well, see, that's not really faith, is it?
No.
God just says, Coach, do your calling. Do your calling, and you're just going to have to trust me to take care of it.
Right.
Well, I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable. That's risky.
Right, because if you knew the outcome, then you need faith.
Exactly. So I want to see God's plan. Like, how long is this going to take, God? I can suck it up, Buttercup. For is it going to be 6 weeks? Is it going to be 6 months? Help me out here, God. Well, yeah, help me out, God, so that I don't have to have any faith. I know He must laugh.
He has a sense of humor, for sure.
Oh, I know, because I go to the mall twice a year just to realize that God has a sense of humor. I look around and I'm like...
But it's a journey, and it's so worth it. After you make it through that particular test, if you want to say, or crossroads, and you look back and you think, wow, now I see the plan that He had all along. And that's what's amazing. Like, hindsight's 20/20.
Well, of course. And I could share stories of how God has shown me things. One of the first, not the first, but among the first people I talked to, they said, I want to support what you're doing. I love the idea. Mm-hmm. I love the ministry, the vision, but I am flat broke, and I will do some other things that are not financial. Well, then, so I continue, prospecting around. Later that same day, I was actually on my way to North Carolina. In fact, I was talking to you at one point, and I couldn't believe it. Somebody called me out of the clear blue and said, I want to make a financial gift to make it possible for someone who cannot afford. I couldn't believe it. The very same day, somebody basically sponsored or scholarshiped or whatever you want to call it. Another interesting story that just affirms, that when you have faith, God rewards that. So I've got this Amazon wish list that is it's always mutating, evolving, and these are things that we're going to buy. Some of them are longer term than others, but we're going to get this stuff. And I spoke with one individual, and they did interrupt me and said, I ain't going on camera. Ain't going to happen. But I would like to help. And I flippantly said, oh, I'll just send you my Amazon wish list then. And they said, please do.
Wow. It's amazing when God's hands in it. It's
and
amazing.
I won't say the amount, but a lot of stuff showed up at my doorstep. A lot of stuff, a lot of it that was, I had no idea how we were going to get this stuff. I had no idea. I just know that this is what it takes to get from here to there. This is the stuff we need. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I don't spend, I mean, I'm not saying I'll never put a donate button somewhere, but we don't talk about, please give, please give, please give, because we're funded separately by partners who believe in this vision and in
Mm-hmm.
this ministry as a ministry. And I've used up all your time. Go for a couple minutes. We got to get ready for Michelle. We'll wrap it
Well,
up.
just hang in there because your path will light the way. And if anybody out there is where I was, just keep having hope and faith and keep praying, and you'll make it through.
Well, Lori, you are an inspiration. Thank you for sharing with us. And thank you for being, I can tell that this has been on your mind and on your heart because you've prepared yourself. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for losing 8 pounds.
Thank you.
I tell you, we got a good team, and I'm glad you're on it, Lori. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right, here's that picture again of the moss that forms like a path that forks in the road in the middle of the forest. It is clearly winter or fall. It's cold outside. The only thing green I see there is the moss. Folks, in just a few moments, Michelle Medlock Adams will be with us. She's been in contact with me today and wants to talk about God's perfect timing and some other nice things. So I've got to get really busy right now, and I just would love to just sit here and chat with you guys. But instead, I'll just leave with 2 questions. And they're serious. Number 1, what is the boldest thing you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And number 2, how long ago was that? My challenge and the challenge for all of us is to never be satisfied with either answer.